Hello, I'm Marcus Ong, and I'm happy to bring you the 2019 out-of-hospital cardiac arrest data report from Singapore. Now, I'm pleased to report several highlights that we are seeing very encouraging data coming in from our National Cardiac Arrest Registry. Overall, bystander CPR remained high at above 60%, and we've actually seen an increase in the application of bystander automated external defibrillators, which has increased by 3.3 percentage points to 10.5% overall. And we are still seeing increases in our overall survival rate, as well as what we call the Utstein survival rate, which are witness shockable cardiac arrest, to over 26% now. And this has been layered over a series of interventions that we've been able to put in place in the community, as well as in our emergency medical services system over the last more than 15 years. So first, let's deep dive into the trends of the out-of-hospital cardiac arrest incidence rates. Now, the crude incidence rate has still been increasing to 56.7 per 100,000 population in 2019. And this gives an age standardized rate of 43.2 per 100,000 in 2019. And this upward trend has been consistent year on year over the last 20 years. When we look at how this breaks down by age group, we can see that cardiac arrest is still increasing, especially among those above 65 years in age. And in fact, the incidence rate per 100,000 has actually doubled over the last 10 years. And I think this is attributed to increasing prevalence of chronic disease within our aging population, including high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease. And males still make up almost twice as many of the cardiac arrests compared to females, which has been consistent over the last few years. When we look at this breakdown by ethnicity, our Indian and Malay communities have almost double the incidence rate compared to the Chinese community. Now, moving to bystander interventions and the impact on survival, I'm pleased to report that we have seen an increase to 200 survivors in 2019, up from 175 the previous years. And a lot of this can be attributed to our high bystander CPR rates, which has been stable at 60% in 2019. Also very encouraging is that AED use has increased to 10.5% in 2019 compared to 7.2% in 2018. And this trend has been increasing over the last 5 years especially. We also have seen survival with good to moderate neurological outcomes increasing to 78% in 2019 compared to 67.4% in 2018. And I'll elaborate more in the next few slides. In terms of return of spontaneous circulation, which basically refers to being able to successfully restart the heart, at scene and in the pre-hospital setting, the ROSC rate has been climbing over the years, but it has plateaued over the last 2 to 3 years, which means there is still some scope for improvement, especially in terms of pre-hospital management of cardiac arrest. However, correspondingly, the ROSC rate at emergency department and the overall ROSC rates have been dropping slightly over the last 2 years, which again may clue us that further emphasis needs to be put on the quality of CPR and quality of resuscitation that is taking place at our hospitals and emergency departments. I'm pleased to report overall our survival rates have increased to 6.2% in 2019, as well as the Utstein survival, which is a measure of survival among cases where the cardiac arrest was witnessed and there was a shockable rhythm, has increased from 25.9% in 2018 to 26.2% in 2019. So well done, everyone. That's a great job. And so what this means is, we have been aiming that for those who survive a cardiac arrest must survive well. And I think this is very encouraging to me that 78% of those who survived in 2019 did so with good neurological outcomes, which basically means they were able to return to their pre-incident level of functioning, go back to work, and return to their families. And that means that nearly 8 out of 10 survivors survived well in 2019. And this has been a positive trend that we want to see continue over the next few years. When we look at survival by age, we can see that a lot of gains have been made, especially in the group that is less than 65 years of age. And in parallel, a lot of the hospital-based interventions for cardiac arrest have also increased over the years. Most significantly, you can see the orange bars. Hypothermia therapy, which is a treatment that is done in the hospitals and the ICUs to cool the brain and protect the brain function, has actually increased over the last few years, although it has plateaued in recent years. Similarly, in parallel, emergency PCI, which is a percutaneous coronary intervention, which is a treatment to open a blocked artery after a cardiac arrest, has also been gradually increasing, as well as procedures like ECMO, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. And I believe all these have contributed to our survivors surviving well with good neurological outcomes. And so these are the overall trends which you can see over the last few years. Very encouraging that while the number of cardiac arrests in our population has still been gradually increasing and the incidence rate has been increasing, we have seen increases in the number of survivors, both in terms of absolute numbers, as well as even population adjusted per 100,000 survival. So this is positive news that all of us are very happy to see. And when we break down into the more details of the cardiac arrest registry results, I can highlight that, for example, a majority of arrests are still occurring in the home, 73.9% in 2019, whereas only 15% of arrests actually occur in a public setting and 8% in healthcare facilities. In terms of bystander interventions, we can see that for witness arrests, our bystander CPR rates are 67.1%, and for those not witnessed, 65.1% respectively. So this is very positive. But what it does mean is that, for all witness arrests, there are still 30-something%, almost 33% that are not getting bystander CPR, even though there is a witness present on scene. And I would like to emphasize the importance of dispatcher-assisted CPR. Currently, of all bystander CPR performed, DA CPR is contributing about 66%. And we think that this is important to actually increase our rate of bystander CPR. Now, next, when we look at who is witnessing a cardiac arrest, the family members are actually at scene in 21% of the time. And again, I think this is an opportunity for training, for public awareness, to try to increase bystander CPR, especially for your loved ones who might be having a cardiac arrest. Now, when we look at the presenting rhythm, which is the initial rhythm that we find during a cardiac arrest, the overall proportion of shockable rhythms has been declining over the years, from 18.4% in 2011 to 15.6% in 2019. And so this means that while we are increasing the number of AEDs in the public, a lot of emphasis still needs to be put on increasing bystander CPR rates, as this may actually help convert a non-shockable rhythm into a shockable rhythm subsequently. And when we look at the survival outcomes, as I've mentioned, it is encouraging to see that overall, we are seeing an increase in the proportion of survivors with good neurological outcomes being discharged over the years. And I think this is where increasingly we need to put more emphasis in years to come. So overall, I'm pleased to actually share that we have good outcomes and good data coming out from 2019. there were 3,233 out-of-hospital cardiac arrest cases in 2019, with increasing incidence still in our population. And a lot of this is being driven by the age group more than 65. And also there are opportunities to intervene and for public education, especially in our Indian and Malay community, which have double the incidence rates compared to our Chinese community. And almost twice as many men had cardiac arrest compared to women. In general, our bystander interventions have been increasing and outcomes have been improving. This includes a high bystander CPR rate at 60% and bystander AED rate of about 10% now. And more can be done to increase our community interventions and uptake. And the Utstein survival and overall survival has also been encouragingly climbing. In other words, 8 out of 10 survivors in 2019 survived and survived well. So let me convey my thanks and my congratulations to all those who have contributed to helping increase survival for cardiac arrest in our community. And also let me record my appreciation to the staff members of the Unit for Pre-Hospital Emergency Care and our Pre-Hospital Emergency Research Center for compiling this data. Thank you very much.